What's up, nerds? Back with another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about Asmongolds' video about the destruction of the Department of Education and his opinions, which I agree with, and I've talked with many people who will make more money than any of us watching this video will ever make in our entire lives, more money than any of the people who's watching this families combined will ever make in their entire lives. I'm not going to go into how I've met these people, how I've talked to these people. Believe me if you want, believe me if you don't. I really don't give a shit. I'm just telling you, after the conversations with these people, this is where they're fucking going. And Asmongold is 100% correct. And we're just going to talk a little bit about it because it is something that I am more than willing to stand on business about. It is something that obviously I don't have, a direct proof other than my conversations of what I'm talking about, but it is something that I believe strongly enough in to make a video about it with no editing and just post it right like this. So, the Department of Education is being disbanded by Trump, and the main reason that it's being disbanded is because our kids are fucking dumb. It does not matter how hard we try to teach some kids. Some of these kids just will never fucking be able to, as Asmund says, these kids are made to turn big rocks into little rocks. They are not going to be chemical engineers. They are not going to be doctors or whatever. I mean, hey, maybe they'll be artists. Maybe they'll be musicians. I'm sure they're good at something, but they are not good at education. And trying to get them to go through this system that we've got is obviously not fucking working. So it's something that's just fucking obvious. I mean, the Department of Education does not work. It has not worked. It's not producing kids who are able to, fulfill these various STEM roles or higher education roles, whatever it is. It's just not. It teaches kids how to either work their way through the system, or it teaches kids how to abuse whatever other techniques to get through the system. It teaches us how to be weasels. It teaches us how to be rats. I mean, which, again, hey, rats are useful. They have their place in the not economy. They have their place in ecology. They have their place in the way that the world needs to function. We need rats, right? But we also need dolphins and trying to think of other smart animals. Dogs and cats are lazy. They'd be a bad example. But let's get off that metaphor. The point is that the education system in America is not exactly designed for the betterment of society, right? And if we want to truly, and again, this is a tough thing for people to admit, we need people to turn big rocks into small rocks. Trying to force everybody to be a doctor is, and slight deferment, trying to teach everybody to be a doctor or some STEM position is not going to work out. And we know it's not going to work out because when you look at what the Democrats have openly said, they openly say the reason we need immigrants is because we don't have people to do these menial positions. And why don't we have these people to do these menial positions? Because we're not teaching them to do it. We're not explaining the benefits of having this. We would rather import labor for significantly cheaper, who we do not have to pay these various social systems towards, right? I mean, this part is not, this should all be making sense to you, right? This should be obvious. Now, let's go into a little bit of the less obvious stuff, and where Asmongold's opinion starts to get berated more and more, despite his opinion is that he's right, and again, my opinion is that he's right. So the point of this video is to tell you to watch the movie Gattaca, and then tell you about how real that is and how it's coming down the fucking drain. And I've streamed about this. I've made articles about this. It's on the website. I'll try and put a link in the description below. So the movie Gattaca is about a society where everything is predetermined, where from the moment you're born, they can tell based on your genetic profile, based on your history, that you are going to be best as this kind of person. Like from the moment you're born, you are designed to be a garbage man because a garbage man fits best with your skills, what kind of things you like to do, your genetic profile, and so that's how we have determined who's going to be where in our society. And it's got Jude Law and Ethan Hawke as the main two people, and essentially the movie is about a little bit of the opposite of what we're talking about, and is basically that Ethan Hawke pretends to be Jude Law despite his genetic profile having him as, one of the throwaways of society. Ethan Hawke shows through that humans have the potential to be and do anything if they keep their mind to it, if they pursue their dreams and whatever. And so it's a movie about how just because people tell you that you can't do things, if you work hard enough, if you're persistent enough, you can do whatever you want to do, which I also agree with, because that is kind of what school teaches you. If you want to be productive, if you want to do things, but you think school is bullshit, well, turns out you've got AI. Turns out you've got the internet. Turns out you've got these various ways to get around or to get through school because you know that you like to do things. You know you're not an unproductive member of society and you want to make it past all this BS, which again, it's like, I mean, it's like, it's those people, I can tell you from personal experience, I am one of those people. I made it through my engineering degree, got a 2.5 average by getting a 1.7 2.0 for the first 2 years of school, and then getting 3.5 for the last 2 years to average that to a 2.5, right? So I was a 2.5 engineer, and then what happens when I go for my master's and do things I'm interested in? I get a 4.0, right? So, and all I did, I was not a good engineering student. I did what I had to do to get A's in my classes. I did what I had to do to understand things in a way that my brain could process. I am not there's a reason I'm not a biochemical engineer right now, despite having the degree and all of the things for it. There's a reason I am a businessman and started doing my own things instead, right? So to move on from the Gattaca, so we've talked about Gattaca, we've talked about how that society is in the movie and how that relates to Asmongolds' opinion, where we're just going to end up with this society where, just you're just going to take big rocks and make them into small rocks. And hey, if you decide to work and go back to school, you have the ability to go back to school, but otherwise you're just going to be taught this menial, meaningless job or whatever. But they're jobs that we need right now, because obviously we need them, because we are intaking millions of immigrants to do these jobs that Americans won't do, because again, all Americans need to be doctors or go to STEM or do all of this college stuff, higher education, and all this BS, right? And so now we'll talk about the personal stuff, who I've talked with that has told me directly and conversed about what making our society into a Gattaca society. So when you look at a combination of things, it should be obvious, and I'll talk about those, right? So I have never gotten an Ancestry 23andMe anything, because again, I see what happens when giant corporations and governments have control over people's genetic profiles and those informations. Again, the Gattaca example, right? And I did not want to give up ownership of my genes, of what makes me a person, because a little side note, again, I've written articles about this, we've talked about this on the channel before. I respect religion, but I do not follow. I'm not a true believer in Christ or whatever people would say, right? My God, as I see it, is my genetic information. Whoever created, whatever created our DNA, whatever, because that's what makes us human. That's what, at the end of the day, that's what determines how we pop out the way we do, right? That's why we had during the COVID era, that's why the vaccine was designed the way it was. It was an mRNA vaccine, right? Designed to change things on a genetic level and not just, vaccine the way traditional vaccines use, where you put a little bit of whatever virus in us to teach the body how to react, right? This was changing how the body created things to then fight COVID, right? And so when you look at then, oh, what happens with 23andMe? What happens with all that genetic information? What happens with all that? Oh, it gets sold to the government. Oh, it gets, turns out that at the end of the day, it's very similar to Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go, it turns out after all these years, now that we know, what were they doing? Oh, they were just gathering location data. And what did they do? Oh, they sold all that data to the government, sold it all to giant corporations. It's like anybody who thought that Pokemon Go was just it's just a cute little game where we just, walk around and finding and catching Pokemon. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is fun and that is something, but when you look at how does that game make money? What was the end game of that? The end game was to gather data, right? It's not, I would love if it was just as simple and fun and as easy as it was on the surface, but spoiler alert, that's pretty much never the fucking case, right? So now we've got all this genetic information mapped. What different aspects of our genome creates different things, and then we see what happens with all of the jobs, the way things play out, what happens with these people, and it just now brings us closer and closer to this path where the end goal, the end point is just like what Asmongold says, is it's like, except it's going to be guided through technology, guided with AI. Because while there is, again, just like in Gattaca, there is a chance that someone can break the pattern, because humans are, at the end of the day, infinitely capable of whatever their minds are set to. However, that, small, tiny percentage is an outlier in comparison to the 99% of people who would be better smashing rocks, better taking out garbage, better doing construction work than they would be doing chemical engineering, biochemistry, whatever, physics, whatever those things are, right? And now we've got, in addition to the genetic information, we've got all of the physical information, whether that's through smart devices, smart watches, Aura rings, whatever these new forms of electrical monetary, right? Combine that with AI, combine that with your genetic information. I mean, our society, because again, remember, how many jobs is AI destroying? How many jobs is AI going to do when we don't do it? Really think about, in the Great Recession, we were at 25% unemployment, and that was enough to cause the Great Recession. Think about how many jobs are driving taxis, delivering food, school bus driving, working desk jobs. Think about how many jobs, seriously. And just, if you want to go look at the numbers, I don't have this information on hand. Again, fact check me on anything, right? Look at how many jobs in our society are immediately able to be replaced with AI or with a combination of AI and electronic things. Whether, I mean, shit, man, we've got the Tesla robots now, we've got the automated robots. Just imagine, is it really that hard to go to a fast food restaurant where now we're a cashless society? There's no more cash. You've got a robot who could just take from the back and just bring it to the front. You've already got the checkout dashboards right in the front. I mean, seriously, is it that hard? Is it that crazy of a concept? I mean, do we really put that much faith in these giant corporations and these businesses that, oh, they're not gonna, totally fuck over society? Yeah, their goal is not to make money, their goal is not to be efficient. Like, I mean, it's hilarious because these are the same fucking idiots that will believe in late stage capitalism or talk about this stuff, but then at the same time think that this stuff is impossible. So there we go. That's the rant. It's already 16 minutes. I'm cutting it short. Well, if you've made it this far, again, comment some exotic fruit name at the bottom. But that is, that's where we're going. Asmongold's 100% right. If you don't believe it, you just don't know enough about. You just don't understand the way the world works yet. I'm sorry. That's a tough thing to hear. It's not like you're stupid. You have the ability to understand things. You just, are sipping the Kool-Aid a little bit too hard. Anyway, that's it for now. Smoke grass, eat ass, be excellent to each other, and I will see you in the next video. Deuces.